It's Saturday, January 29th, 2011. I'm Kevin McShann, and this is the McShann Sports Beat Report. If you put up a valiant effort to win an endless battle, however, you feel as if others who are integral to your success aren't pulling their equal weight, then it's impossible for you to win the war. For Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Carson Palmer has reached that point in his relationship with the Bengal Tiger, and apparently he's ready to call the Bengals bluff and force his way out of the Queen City. The news of Palmer's displeasure in Cincinnati first broke on Monday when ESPN's senior NFL writer Chris Mortensen reported the story. However, the number one overall pick in the 2003 NFL Draft was unavailable for comment because he and his wife Shaelynn were awaiting the birth of their third child. However, a source close to the situation tells Mortensen that Palmer would strongly consider retirement if he doesn't get his wish from the Bengals brass. However, one of the biggest challenges that Palmer and his agent Dave Dunn are bound to face in their quest to get him out of Cincinnati will be Bengals president Mike Brown, who spoke about his disgruntled quarterback on Monday from the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama with the Cincinnati Enquirer. The Bengals top executive told the paper that the 31-year-old signal caller shouldn't be making any travel plans out of Ohio anytime soon. He was told that, and that we count on him going forward, and that we're not in a position to trade him, Brown said. Speaking on behalf of his client, Dunn released a statement on Monday to attempt to give some insight into exactly what Palmer is thinking during this critical juncture of his career. The statement read in part, "Because of the lack of success that Carson and the Bengals have experienced, Carson strongly believes that a separation between him and the Bengals would be in the best interest of both parties," Dunn said. One of the main reasons why Palmer is strongly considering retirement is due to his history of injuries. In 2005, in a playoff game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, Palmer suffered a major knee injury, and in 2008, he suffered an elbow injury. However, he didn't require Tommy John surgery, opting instead for rehab to avoid the operation. In 2010, the Bengals finished with a record of 4-12. As for Palmer, he finished with 362 completions out of 586 attempts for 3,970 yards. He had a completion percentage of 61.8%. His yards per pass play stood at 6.78 yards. He had 26 touchdowns and 20 interceptions, and a passer efficiency rating which stood at 82.4. By comparison, over the course of his career, Palmer has completed 2,024 passes out of a possible 3,217 attempts for 22,694 yards. He has an overall completion percentage of 62.9%. His yards per pass play stands at 7.05 yards. He has 154 career touchdowns against 100 career interceptions, and his overall passer efficiency rating stands at 86.9%. Palmer's top target, Chad Ochocinco, appeared on NFL Live earlier this week to discuss his initial reaction upon hearing the news of his quarterback's trade demands and how his own situation is comparable to Palmer's when he asked for a trade a few years ago.
Chad, I just first of all want to get your thoughts on Carson Palmer's trade demands because you went down this road a couple years ago.
Yeah, I went down this road a couple years ago, with no success. But I understand as a player, I understand where Carson is coming from. Every the tension is built up. I think the losing in a way is wearing on him. A lot of things went on. And you always try to be the solution to the problem, but at some point, there's a bigger problem than us as players. And for whatever that reason, whatever that problem is, it's not going to get solved. And it's really bad when it gets to the point to where your franchise and your quarterback wants out.
Well, Chad, what do you think that problem is if it's not the players?
I have no idea. I have no idea what that problem is. But in my case, my situation, I just wanted to go somewhere where I can have a chance to win, and where I felt like, I wanted to know what it felt like to win for a change, and that was it. That was it. All I want to do is have fun and just win. And in Carson's case, it's serious and it's really bad if someone of that stature being a quarterback rather retire than play football.
Now, you had an interesting tweet you put out there when Carson's trade demands to retire first came out there, basically saying, hey, the last guy that did this in Cincinnati was crucified by the media. How is Carson going to be perceived? What point were you trying to make there?
No point at all. You guys are making it for me. You guys are making the point for me. So, it's what it is. It's what it is. As a quarterback, you're treated differently. And then people will say maybe it's the way I am, the way I carry myself. I'm outspoken, so he gets a little bit more respect. But, it is what it is. I'm pulling for Carson. I hope he gets what he wishes, because he needs to win also. So do I. I don't want to go anywhere. I love Cincy. I love the fans. And Cincinnati is all I know. That's all I know. I just look forward to next year. But before the season starts, I do need to fight with my head coach.
Well, I think he's already started that. He told the Boston Herald when he was down at the Senior Bowl, someone asked him what he thought about you tweeting, hey, I'd look good in New England. And Marvin's response was, and I quote, Belichick's smarter than that. Your thoughts on what Marvin had to say?
It is what it is. If Belichick is smarter than that, then why am I still there?
I'm not sure what you're trying to say there. What are you trying to say?
If Belichick is smart enough not to come and get me, does that mean we're dumb enough to keep me?
Both ESPN's NFL insider Adam Schefter and Mortensen appeared on Mike and Mike in the Morning on Wednesday to discuss the Palmer situation and why Brown will be so stubborn in his reluctance to grant Palmer a trade.
NFL insider Adam Schefter joins us here on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline as the football world gets set to head down to North Texas for the Super Bowl next week. Another quarterback situation that is an interesting one is Carson Palmer in Cincinnati. Clearly he wants out. The organization has made it clear they don't have any plans to trade him. There were reports that he threatened to retire if he couldn't get himself out of there. Ultimately, what's going to happen with Carson Palmer?
Well, ultimately, think of this. Mike Brown, who runs the Bengals and makes the decisions for that organization, had a chance 3 years ago to trade Chad Ochocinco for 2 first-round draft picks to the Washington Redskins. And he told the Washington Redskins, don't even waste your time calling me. I will not trade him. Now, you look at that right now and you say, you could have gotten 2 first-round picks for Chad Ochocinco, soon to be Chad Johnson. Are you kidding me? You got to go make that deal. He wouldn't even listen to it. Wouldn't even entertain the idea of it. And now he's saying the same thing with Carson Palmer. So what's going to happen is Carson Palmer wants out of there. And it's going to be up to Carson Palmer and his agent Dave Dunn to apply as much pressure as they can on maybe the most stubborn executive in all of football. When Andy Reid says he's not trading Donovan McNabb, things change. When Josh McDaniels said he's not trading Jay Cutler, things change. When Mike Brown says he's not trading Carson Palmer, he means it. And this will be the biggest challenge challenge of Carson Palmer and Dave Dunn's career to figure out a way to get him out of Cincinnati. There'll be no shortage of teams that want him. Okay, Pete Carroll coached him in Seattle in college. Arizona needs a quarterback. San Francisco is where Carson Palmer's wife's from, and they need a quarterback. You could look at any number of the NFC West teams, and then throw in the Raiders with Hugh Jackson, who worked with Carson Palmer in Cincinnati. That's not the issue, finding a landing spot. The issue is getting Mike Brown to deal him. And all I can say on that one is, I'm not going to say it can't happen, but good luck on that one.
Let's go down live to the Senior Bowl, meanwhile, where we can go inside the huddle and find our own NFL insider, Chris Mortensen, who's there watching all these seniors who were there,
love
the
this
future
week.
NFL stars.
Love the week down there.
As we get set to then take the week in North Texas for the Super Bowl. So much to get to here, Mort. Let's go around the league a little bit.
Some off-the-field situations, and the one has to start in Cincinnati with Carson Palmer and a guy that wants out of there and the possibility of other places he could go that need quarterbacks. Will he even have a chance to get out of there, though, Mort?
Well, you heard Adam Schefter earlier, and I agree with him. If you know Mike Brown, when Mike Brown says no, it's no. So really the most interesting part of the story to me, and I've been working on it for a week before I reported on it, was the idea that Carson, if he doesn't get a chance to have a fresh start somewhere else, is willing to retire, is willing to sit it out. And you sit there, as you know, that's a disbelieving, your immediate reaction is, well, there's no way. Well, here's the guy who's been, had a knee injury, had an elbow injury, who is tired of just everything, I think, there with the Bengals, and has about $30 to $33 million stashed away in the bank. Okay, when Kevin Mawai mentioned earlier, the upper 10%, there's the upper 10% make most of the money in this league. Well, Carson's been one of those guys. His wife Shaelynn, I've heard, would like him to retire. They just had their third child. I would say we should that we take this retirement threat seriously.
Fascinating. Mike and Chris Mortensen, that would certainly be very interesting, and I'd love to see him out there on the open market and see where he would wind up.
A quarterback is judged by how many games he wins and loses throughout the course of his career. It's just a fact of life in the NFL, and we accept that as normal operating procedure around the league. With that being said, there are several intangible factors which attribute to the success of the quarterback, both directly and indirectly. And when those moving parts don't work in unison to accomplish the same goal, the success of the quarterback, along with the entire team, is greatly diminished. With that in mind, Carson Palmer's tenure in Cincinnati, 7 years worth, has been filled with tremendous turmoil and controversy, both on and off the field, from the tragic death of his teammate Chris Henry a few years back, not to forget the Pac-Man Jones fiasco, and of course, there's the seesaw relationship he has with his mercurial top wide receiver, and not to be outdone is the constant losing both on and off the field. To say that Palmer's had a full plate of issues to deal with during his time in the Queen City would be an understatement. Is a mutual parting of the ways in the best interest of both parties involved? Perhaps that's the best solution at hand. However, the real question is, can Dunn and Palmer convince Mike Brown, one of the most stubborn executives in all of football, to give Palmer his get-out-of-jail-free card in Cincinnati? Stranger things have happened, but I wouldn't be holding my breath on this one, at least not yet. But as we all know, only time will tell. Kevin McShann, Sports Beat, report.